Welcome everyone to the Daily Volatility Box Review for August 15th, 2019. We are TOSindicators.com, home of the Volatility Box. We'll start by looking at the performance table for today, which is oddly similar to that of Tuesday's in that we had no trades that triggered. And this was actually really helpful for us today because unlike Tuesday where we were forced to sit back and watch trades work out, today our rules actually protected us like they're there in place to actually do. So let's take a look at the charts. Let's understand what happened today and how we can learn from today's price action and close out the week on a strong note. As a reminder, we released our V-score scans yesterday, which are available for free for download on our website. You can visit this URL, which we'll also add in the description box below, which is tosindicators.com/indicators/V-score scans. And you can go ahead and download these V-score scans. And if you'd like to learn how we actually built them, take a look at our How To Think script playlist, in which you can look at how we built this scan using custom code, along with many other indicators. Let's take a look at charts. We'll start with the S&P futures first. We'll approach this the way we approach all of our mornings, where we take a look at the first 30 minutes of the market open, and we check to see whether or not the volatility box breached either side's entry lines. And this is the aggressive volatility box. As we see, we very clearly did here, and that was our sign to switch on over to the conservative volatility box. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, what you see is once we switch on over to the conservative volatility box, we repeat the same exercise. We look to see whether or not we breached either side of the entry lines. And as you can see, not only did we breach the entry lines, but we breached even the clouds. And this is different from yesterday's price action, if you remember, where we came and we had it was barely the tail end of a candle, a 5-minute candle rather, that had grazed the entry line in the first hour. But apart from that, we had actually held. That's what separates yesterday from today, and that today we very clearly saw price action exceed our normal volatility models. That was our cue to step out of this market for the rest of the day, and you'll see that this was a consistent theme in all of the indices. We'll take a look at the Dow futures, and we see something very similar, which is this is once again the conservative volatility box, and we see that we breached the actual clouds. And let's evaluate what actually would have happened. Did our rules help us? Did our rule hurt us? And what we see here is what would have normally been one of our entries with our stop right outside of the volatility box. We actually stayed out of this trade as a result of our rules, where we had breached into the clouds, and that was our sign that this volatility box today, even on the conservative side, isn't really containing price action the way we think it should. Continuing our browse through, we'll take a look at the NASDAQ futures next, which you see the same exact story. We're into the clouds. This time, however, price action was contained, but our rules kept us out of losses on both the Dow and the S&P futures. And finally, the Russell futures. And we see once again, we breached outside of the clouds. This time we were contained within the volatility box where we got a bounce up. However, this was not a valid entry to us since once we exceed the clouds or even enter the cloud area, that's our sign to get to at least start to be cautious. And we go so far as to even look at these entry lines as cautionary signs, depending on how price action acts around them and whether or not we exceed well past, or if price action really is just a wick like yesterday that's contained within this entry line, but we then start to bounce either away to or away from the volatility box entry lines. We see that our rules today saved us from a few mishaps that would have otherwise ruined a really nice week and essentially set us back some. This right here would have been a losing trade. This right here would have been a losing trade. And this is exactly why we have these rules in place, where the volatility box and the price action that it contains actually tells us a story. It paints us a very clear picture, and it gives us a plan of action to attack the rest of the day after looking at just 30 minutes of price action data. That's the power of using the volatility box, and that's the power of using volatility ranges along with the trading plan that's clearly defined and written well in advance with rules that you can't change in the middle of action. It's very binary, and this allows you to be a disciplined trader and a trader who consistently profits in the marketplace. We hope this video helped, and we look forward to a final day of trading action tomorrow on this Friday, and hopefully close out the week on a strong note. We're currently up almost a little bit more than $8,500 on the week, and I'd really like to see us at least get one more winning day in without having 2 days, actually 3 days this week then that we wouldn't have been able to trade using the volatility box. Let's take a look and see what price action unfolds tomorrow. But until then, thank you and have a great night.